Hello there, and welcome to Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, the Writers' Room podcast dedicated to fixing the Star Wars sequels. Each week, we pick a new part of the galaxy to discuss, analyze, and critique, and right now we're working on our first round of treatments, and before the end of 2023, we will finally have something to share with the world. But for now, I'm Bryce Quinn, and joining me today is the fastest hands in the West, Sandro Karayan. Wow, such energy, that was great.
Yeah, hi.
Also joining me is the saddest man in the world, Carmelo Keating.
Don't talk to me about sport ever again. We're not
So we had a pretty disappointing weekend for Queensland sports fans. The NRL, they lost. The AFL, they lost. But we're going to move on from that today and go back to talking about Star Wars, I think.
Let's talk about the thing that always brings comfort to me, except for when they release really bad movies and bad shows. Star Wars.
Harry Potter.
Oh, wait a minute.
Mello, you're going to be in a great mood today.
Yep.
But that's fine, because this episode, we're talking canon, what to cut, what to keep, and why. We're going to be talking about live action animated stuff, the comics, books, Lucas's interviews, and all sorts of good stuff. And I wanted to start at the OG trilogy and the prequel trilogy, just the movies, the six movies,
Cool.
which we are hard on pretty much keeping all of that as canon.
Yes.
I don't think there's any...
Not going to touch a single
Sandro?
thing.
So
What do you want to take out of the actual movies?
we're going to
live-action
actually get rid of Phantom Menace. It's
movies?
gone.
Oh, okay.
It's out of the mix.
He wants midichlorians gone.
Yeah, it's gone. It's out of the mix.
I think that's an interesting point, though. The one thing that we're not the biggest fan...
What? Oh, no, because he's doing a bit. Because
doing a bit.
Because we're going to get dragged over the hot coals.
I knew he was doing a bit.
Yeah,
We're not getting rid of Phantom
No,
Menace.
we're going to get keelhawed if we touch anything that Lucas made.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly think there is a pretty solid world-building lore that's Lucas confirmed, you know?
Yeah.
Lucas's canon was his 6 movies and Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Not touching most
We'll
of
get-
it.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to Clone Wars in a
little.
second, but
Yeah.
I think, talking about OG and prequel trilogy, the 6 movies, the live-action movies,
Mhm.
are pretty much locked in as canon, and that's what we'll be working with for the most part. The one interesting thing is midichlorians, though,
Yeah, right.
and also like creating a child from the Force and stuff like that.
I'm fine with midichlorians existing because to me, it was always it's a misinterpretation
Yeah.
of the Force. It's trying to scientifically quantify something that is mystic. I don't think it's bad that it exists. I think it's very telling of the Jedi in that time.
Is it maybe a bit also you can interpret it as causa and correlation, where it's oh, we've noticed that Jedi have a high amount of this.
Yes,
Whether-
it's like bad statistics.
yeah.
I think it's poorly explained in the movies, and I think the way we choose to interpret it is it's you don't just get midichlorians because you're some special midichlorian boy. It's if you have midichlorians, you have kind of an aptitude for the Force. But if you build that aptitude, your midichlorian count will increase or something like that.
And
It's
also,
it's just a way to connect to it.
If you're stealing metachlorians and you're pumping yourself full of them like steroids, you're not just going to get the Force.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit silly.
Can you OD on midichlorians?
Can you OD on midichlorians? I don't know.
You get so wise and so spiritual.
Can you extract midichlorians, make it into gems, crystal midichlorian? Right?
Okay,
That's something
where the
that
fuck is this going? Okay, that's kind of our interpretation of midichlorians, though.
Yeah. And also, Child of the Force, it's kept vague.
Yes,
I
but he
think,
specifically
maybe-
says, influence the midichlorians to create life.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
Oh,
That's
no.
just lines.
That's not in regards of him being a child of the Force. That's regards of keeping people alive.
I don't. No. He says
He's talking about
to
how
create
how
life. Yeah.
Plagueis can create
Yeah, Darth
life.
Plagueis. He could, influence the midichlorians to create life. I think that's the quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not to...
To create life,
To create
Sandro.
life, Sandro.
Create
Not-
it.
Create
a
yes,
child.
he has the ability to save life, but also to make life. And there's the whole. That's why everyone's there's the implication
That whole
Plagueis
story
made
was
Anakin.
about saving people from the death.
It's
though.
both. He does both in the one
He
thing.
can do
Oh.
two things.
Yeah. He does create life and also save people from death. Yeah. That's all in one scene.
Okay,
it does
so-
get it. There is a bit of overlap there, but yeah.
Point being, not touching the original 6 films.
Yeah, I think we can happily keep all of that stuff. That's
Yeah.
going to be that guiding light, I think.
Rogue One.
Before we get to Rogue
Oh,
One,
you don't want to go.
I've got a little bit
what's
of a
your
run order.
Okay.
So the next thing is Master and Apprentice, the book.
Wait. Wait. Do we have to? I don't wanna
Because
talk about books.
No, we have to talk about books.
Okay,
because
okay.
there's so many fucking books.
Dude.
And also Master and Apprentice introduces the prophecy of the chosen one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, do we want to keep that prophecy or do we want to make our own version of it and kind of forget about the book? And if we keep that version of the prophecy, do we keep the rest of that book?
I get what you. So
There
what
is prophecy
the
as
prophecy
written
is.
in film. still.
Yes. Which is, I don't know what the prophecy
The
is.
prophecies never said.
I don't think they say the prophecy in the
It's-
movie, do they?
It never directly. They don't quote. You know how you gave a very specific quote
Yeah.
from the book the other day?
Yeah.
Nothing like that. It's more just Obi-Wan talking to Yoda or Yoda,
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu, and being like, isn't the Chosen One meant to like,
Bring balance
bring
to the
balance to the
Force.
Force and
Yeah.
like save us from evil, whatnot, stuff like that.
Which kind of contradicts the actual written prophecy that we have, in a way. Because
I
they don't say... Does it say, like, bring balance to the Force in the actual prophecy itself?
Oh, okay. I can.
We're going to bring it up again. We're always bringing up this
yes.
fucking prophecy.
Okay. A chosen one shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored. That's part of it.
Okay.
Should have clicked
There's-
into the article.
Yeah, there's the,
There's
the rest of
more
it
of
as
it.
well.
Oh, there's the rest of it, but it's just like I feel like that's what we needed to hear.
Only through sacrifice of many Jedi will the Order cleanse the sin done to the nameless. The danger of the past is not past, but sleeps in an egg. When the egg cracks, it will threaten the entire galaxy. When the Force itself sickens, past and future must split and combine. A chosen one shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored.
Okay, so it does talk about bringing balance to the Force.
Yeah, I feel like that is written to be such like a niche and like just to represent that Vader is the chosen one.
I've translated this. I've gone through and like looked at it all, and it's like it's talking about very specific things when you go through
It's trying to
the Star
like
Wars films.
be super specific and pinpoint down something.
Well,
rather
was the
than-
book written after the prequel trilogy?
That one,
Yeah, like the book where that...
well after Master and Apprentice came
Yeah.
out like 2 years.
So they wrote it so it's just like, oh, it like puts all of these kind of things.
It's
and-
scary
Yeah.
because maybe there was an old Legends one that someone had written. I don't know. I haven't read that much
It just
Legends stuff.
it strikes me as just like trying to make the puzzle pieces fit a
Yeah.
bit more. Whereas I'm maybe a bit more into how vague it is in the movies.
Oh, so you're more interested in keeping the movie version of the prophecy.
I mean, like
Where it is very
that's what's fun about prophecies, isn't it? That there's multiple
So
interpretations.
you guys are you guys are like not wanting to use this prophecy from the book.
But what
I
else are we
don't want to talk about the books.
Ah.
What
What
else
might
are
be
we-
here till
yeah.
next Tuesday?
yeah, or like what else are we missing from canning Master and Apprentice? And like what can we? Just,
I don't know. I haven't read the book.
What can we infer from books that we can just take inspiration from? Because like we've already like even though like we're sort of on and off about like this bloodline thing, it's come up a lot. But like at this point, we're just taking inspiration from ideas from the novels and just weaving them into our canon.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think we're talking about canon today and like what are we keeping, what are we cutting, and coming down on like third lines and stuff. So
yeah,
I'm okay with the prophecy staying unwritten.
Cool.
For now, yeah.
yeah.
I
same
actually
here.
think that's a good way to go because I was kind of still working off of it. But I think
Yeah.
we can cut it and keep just like the vague lines of Obi-Wan talking to Mace Windu and he's like, isn't he supposed to bring balance?
Yeah.
And just keeping it vague. Yeah,
I
I think
say
there's
we
also
wanted to add lines.
yeah. If we want to
Yes,
add
you
stuff
know.
and add it to change it. Yeah.
I think there's also like a vague description in Phantom Menace possibly as well.
Okay.
But like yeah,
we shall track that down.
Okay, next.
Next one, the Clone Wars.
The
And
Clone-
we're going to
okay,
spend a
right,
bit of time
let's-
on this
let's-
because
yeah,
there's
okay.
a lot of stuff, and I think Mello, you've got some stuff to talk about.
So yeah, I'm on this Clone Wars fandom. I'm just looking at the arcs.
Yeah.
It's only specific arcs. It's things that I'm sorry, some things might need to be cut.
interesting.
Sandra, anything that is too deep of a dive into the Force
Mhm.
in a really unnecessary way that is actually
Alright.
really convoluted and contradictory to itself.
Like Yoda talking to the Wills.
Like Yoda literally going to the birthplace of life in the galaxy. That's fucking crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, no, I hear you. I thought
Yeah.
this was going to come up.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Mortis.
Mortis?
In Mortis arc.
I think
It's
Mortis
just
is-
those two.
Those are the two that
specifically.
I've seen that I'm like, I didn't really enjoy watching those. And
I
I,
think
was
those
like,
are
what
the-
the fuck?
I think those are really the only two that go into that sort of territory that you're describing.
Genuinely. Because I don't want to touch anything else, really.
I think Mortis is fine because it's sort of just like a one and done. It's just kind of introducing the idea of like Force demigods, basically.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. It's got a lot of implications of like, are there more of these things?
Oh,
like,
actually, you know what? If we're canning like some Chosen One stuff, we can can Mortis. Mortis has like a lot of tie-in to like Chosen One stuff.
Yeah. that entire arc only exists to be like, yep, Anakin was always the chosen one.
I really enjoy the Mortis arc.
I
I
like it,
used
it's
to really
cool,
enjoy
but-
the Yoda arc, and then like I heard your initial thoughts in the
Yeah.
like seeing
We
like,
watched it together. And I was
seeing
like,
somebody else have like fresh eyes on it. I'm like, oh, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
The one thing I like about what's the Yoda arc called? Is there a name for it?
It's
where he-
literally called Yoda arc. In
Lol.
brackets arc.
Yeah, so the Yoda arc where he travels to the Wills and shit. The one part I like about that is where he faces a shadow version of himself. And
Yeah,
must
well, he
defeat
has
it, you know?
to do his own Dagobah challenge. Yeah,
Yeah, he has his own Dagobah challenge, and I think that's really cool.
He goes to Dagobah.
And he goes to Dagobah and
mm.
meets Qui-Gon. I think that's cool as well. Like
Yeah.
exploring how Qui-Gon became a Force ghost
Yes.
just by him like alone.
There's a lot
There's
of-
also there's those dangerous implications as well. So it's like in that bit, it's Yoda learning how he can become a Force ghost. Qui-Gon never learnt that. Qui-Gon learned how to communicate from beyond the grave.
So I don't know why you guys have such a beef with that. I feel like someone's gonna figure it out, you know?
Yeah, and he learned part of it, and through learning part of it, he's able to pass on then to Yoda and Obi-Wan. No, Yoda, Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Learn how to, but it's like it makes it this process. It makes it too complicated. The way that like Yoda has to learn how to do it. So then when it comes to like when Anakin dies, how did he learn? Did he learn that process?
Okay, cut the Yoda arc, but just like take pieces and sort of like make it a canon.
Okay.
Make it a part of the canon. Like Yoda going to Dagobah, Yoda making contact with Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through the whole Wills, and maybe he just does that challenge on Dagobah, like his dark side challenge on Dagobah.
I've just realized if people haven't seen much of the Clone Wars, they
this is going to be so fucking confusing.
Okay,
This
sorry.
is a deep dive episode.
Yeah, this is
I
a
was
bit of
thinking
a
about that
deep
as well.
dive
Like,
kind
we
of.
should
I
probably
just had that thought.
We should probably contextualize everything before we talk about it.
Yoda he hears from Qui-Gon through the Force after Qui-Gon dies during the Clone Wars TV show, and he's like, "Oh, I got to go travel into the deep part of the galaxy to try and find whatever the fuck's happening with the Force right now." Because Qui-Gon's reaching out to him, and that leads him on this huge journey where he meets the Wills.
He goes to the birthplace of life.
He goes to the birthplace of life.
The Wills are meant to be the sort of representation conductors of everything that is the living force and the cosmic force.
And he goes to this. He hops, skips, and jumps to this dark island where he fights his evil self.
He has to fight his evil shadow clone, and then he wins, and he's like, "Yes, I'm at peace now," and he's great.
And then there's more to it.
And then something else happens. People who are fans of the Clone Wars are fucking hating this right now. People who aren't fans of the Clone Wars also hate this.
Oh no! He also then has to like make a decision because he gets sucked into like this dark side vision, and it's like a second test basically of like how you choose, like what you choose is like most important to you.
Oh, and then he
because he has the chance to like kill Sidious, or he has the chance to like save Anakin. He chooses to save Anakin.
Yeah. Does that fight actually happen? Is there a real fight or is it a dream fight?
No, it's like a dream fight.
Yeah, right. So the dream fight with Sidious, he has the opportunity to uncover Sidious. He talks to like some dark side spirit of Darth Bane.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he goes to that Sith planet.
Yeah, is it?
Man, Clone Wars is a wild ride.
Yeah.
I think it was like a really ballsy play, and I love trying to like fit in an interpretation of the Wills. Trying to like go back to old text, old Star Wars text. Is it handled like the best? I think it's handled okay given like the source material, but also like does it sort of work within like the wider scheme and like what we're trying to build? Not really. I think concepts of like the living force, cosmic force, I think these are like important things to keep in mind.
For sure. But as like grounding philosophies, not things you should see on screen. I
Yeah.
think. That's like a big problem for me with the Clone Wars in general. It's just like so much of this stuff doesn't fit what the Star Wars movies are, which is action, adventure, family-friendly, fun films with a grounding in like mythology and stuff. But that mythology is the backbone of it, not the forefront, not the characters at the front.
Which is interesting when you consider, like, this is something we're definitely not doing. Lucas wanted to focus on the Wheels and the midichlorians in his, like, episode 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, that's wild.
Trilogy. And he was literally, and now this is like just breaking down kind of shit storytelling, because he wanted to make it clear that it's like the heroes in that trilogy are just vessels through which the Will's puppet. And it's like, so you're going to make us care about these characters, and then you're going to tell us they're inconsequential because they don't make their own decisions.
It takes like all independence and like security out of like our care.
Doesn't
for the
make them
characters,
people.
and it
Yes. And I think that's a very big part of mythology. They did it in The Matrix as well. People hate it there
Yeah.
because in Matrix 2, it's like, oh, the architect, this is just a big cycle. You know,
Yeah, but,
free
like,
will doesn't exist.
the whole point there is like breaking out of that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And they're trying to tell a story. People still didn't like it because the whole first movie is about free will and choice. And then the second movie is like, no, you didn't have a choice at all. Like, this is a part of a cycle.
Yeah.
And people hate that, even though I really love it. I think it's awesome.
I'm gonna have people hate me, but I also really like Matrix
Revolutions
Reloaded.
is my. Oh, sorry, Reloaded is my favorite Matrix movie.
Oh, really?
It's so fucking good.
Reloaded is fun.
If you don't like it, you just don't get it. And I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't mean
Is
that.
that 3?
There's 3, yeah.
Is that the
four now.
Revolutions is the third one.
Right,
There's
that's-
4 now, but I
yeah.
haven't seen it. I don't want to watch it.
You should watch it. You should watch it.
Because I listened to an interview with the Wachowskis, and
Yeah.
they were like, "Yeah, we made this as a fucking piss take because we hate Warner Brothers." But
Good call.
which is
should
a
watch
really
it.
great call. Get back on topic. The mythology of everything is predetermined by fate. That's like, you know, Norse mythology has the fates, Greek mythology has the fates. They've got different names for them and stuff. But it's all, and like the gods themselves manipulate the fates of mortals. And a lot of the time it's about these mortals like, oh man, I don't really have free will. I got to break out of this somehow.
Yeah, and then you go fight the gods.
And then you can fight the gods
Yeah.
like Kratos. But I think Lucas, being inspired by that, would be like, oh, 7, 8, 9. I want to dive into that. I want to dive into the wills, controlling these fates and that kind of thing. And I just don't find that very interesting
No,
in terms of like Star Wars storytelling.
I think his what my sort of gripe with that is the Force is presented as like a symbiotic relationship between someone who can give themselves to it, and in return it gives itself back. Whereas it feels like you sort of turn the Force into maybe like a bit of a manipulative thing by making it tied to fate, tied to destiny.
By making like the Force, if the Force is a god, and it's like, well, gods are fucked. Gods are evil in all mythology. So you know,
And it is like that ascendant power changes storytelling when it's like you have gods or you have something like the wills, which are sort of like fates and stuff.
I think I think back to when I was a kid and what I got from that Clone Wars episode was the wills were more of like a watcher more than like
the Watcher, like the MCU,
like the
Watcher.
MCU watchers.
See, even that though, the Watcher, you know, he watches the multiverse and stuff because there's these godlike titanic powers moving around the multiverse. And that kind of storytelling is just so far beyond the scope of what the best parts of Star Wars are.
Yeah. I don't think you should bring them into a trilogy.
Yeah.
I'm just like defending their existence.
Okay.
Rather than like, I'm not saying bring them into a trilogy, not at all.
And I think we talk about like the Clone Wars as a great place to explore some of these weirder, wackier concepts. But I still don't like it. So I'm just searching for something here, you know. I would love to hear from the audience if they want to chime in. Like, what do you get from the wills in that Yoda arc in those episodes? And what does that kind of say to you? Am I missing something here? Because I didn't like it at all.
shall we move on?
We can
I
move
think
on.
we're happy.
Yeah,
just with
so Clone Wars,
all
and
the rest of it.
then we'll just, for now, just like cut out Mortis, cut out Yoda arc. Can we like maybe like bring some stuff from Yoda arc into our canon?
we can write something in if. Like,
Yeah,
get
I think
something in
the only question kind of left there is, you know, if we want to answer that question, what was the story of Qui-Gon's Force Ghost journey,
Yeah.
teaching Yoda, teaching Obi-Wan, and then how did Anakin end up there at the end of Return of the
That
Jedi?
whole arc only exists because there's that line in Revenge of the Sith where Yoda's like, "Hey Obi-Wan, I've been talking with someone you know."
Yeah,
Qui-Gon?
A lot of
I love that shit so much. So
what
good.
I also like from that Yoda arc is the relationship between Cosmic Force, Living Force, and how that affects things like Force users just being able to use the Force and matters like Force Ghosts. I would like to look, maybe not hold on strongly, but like at least have that as a baseline on how we look at ideas like Force Ghosts, because I feel like that's a conversation that's going to come out later.
We've talked about doing just like a whole episode dedicated to Force Ghosts. Yeah.
And I think that text is like a good place to look at. Not that that has to be in the foreground in the trilogy. I just like
Something as context for Arch, which is what we talk about a lot, just having that context for ourselves.
So actually, before we do move on from Clone Wars, I want to talk about the cut content that is still canon from Clone Wars that I do want to keep.
the
Okay.
Boba Fett ding.
Bunch of stuff. So season 7 was meant to be a full-length season. There was maybe season 8. There was a bunch of content that was made. You can watch the previs. Some things were made into books. So what it handles is it ties up all the loose ends of Clone Wars,
Yeah.
which I think is fantastic, and that's why I want to keep stuff canon. So it has what happens to Ventress and her surviving the Purge with Quinlan Voss. They fall in love. She sacrifices herself to keep him alive.
Sarge Ventress. No, is it a Sarge Ventress?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the apprentices of Count Dooku.
Yes.
Just for anyone who hasn't seen Clone Wars.
But ties up that loose end. We have Boba Fett killing Cad Bane and taking his crown as the superior bounty hunter of the new age.
Wait. He kills Cad Bane in that show?
They have a shootout.
That's really interesting.
That's where he gets his dent in his helmet.
That's awesome. That's so much better than what we got in Kenobi. Oh, in the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah,
God damn it.
But do they not imply that it happened still anyway
I think
in Book of Boba,
maybe
and
yes.
that he's just
that they've had that. Yeah, no.
and that he survived?
That's anyway. But I think it was a deleted episode. I would like to keep that. I want to keep that in, and that's where Cad Bane dies in that era with a like literally just a standoff, like shootout.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Um,
I don't mind it. I think it's really funny that it's not the same helmet. I think it might be
Yeah.
one of those Star Wars things where they wrote themselves into a plot hole. Some point in Clone Wars, young Boba Fett tries to assassinate Mace Windu. Basically, he ends up like blowing up a Venator that Mace Windu's on, and it crashes into a planet.
It's really
and
cool.
Anakin and Mace Windu are trapped under some rubble. Or no, they're exploring the crashed Venator after the fact, and then they find like Jango
Fett's-
Fett's helmet under there, and Anakin's like, "Oh, what's this?" And Mace Windu's like, "Oh shit, don't pick that up." Anakin picks it up, and there's like a thermal detonator underneath, and it traps them under rubble. But what's really funny is like the interpretation has always been that Boba Fett's helmet with the ding was the same helmet with the ding that Jango Fett had.
Right.
But then they, in canon, blew it up in Clone Wars, which means they had to figure out a way for Boba Fett to get that exact same ding in
That's
his helmet.
So funny.
Mm.
God damn this fucking franchise, I swear to Christ. Sometimes shit like that is just like, oh my god.
Yep.
It's like the arm getting cut off and it has to canonically be like blood that boils at
Yeah.
1,000 degrees or some shit. Same shit.
There's people in Lucasfilm whose jobs this is to control, like meant
It's
to
good.
meant to be,
It's-
or now there are to control canon. Maybe
Yeah.
they weren't always.
Yeah, maybe they weren't always.
It's fun. It's smart.
Yeah,
Any
it's-
any other little things?
There's a
like
few more. There's if you're just watching Clone Wars from like season 5, what stuff that happens to Maul and Mandalore,
Yeah,
and then to
there's a-
season 7, you'd be hella confused because there is a whole bit of Sidious. When Maul was on, sorry, where am I? Mandalore. He becomes a ruler. And then Sidious is like, no, sorry, mate. I know that, like, nice to see you alive and all, but I can't have you doing this. So he kills Maul's apprentice and he just takes Maul. Maul
Hey.
does escape, and
So-
it's in a comic series.
There's a whole comic series where Maul is trapped and he's tortured by Count Dooku, and he has to fight through General Grievous to escape, and he's saved by the Mandalorians that he was ruling over whilst he was in Mandalore. And then he continues to control the crime syndicate from underground, and he hides out on Mandalore, and that's where it picks up in season 7
when you get to the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
when you get to Siege.
Gotcha.
So I'd keep all that. And then I think there's just some stuff from the Ahsoka book that was
Yeah.
meant to have happened around that time, and I don't really know too much about that. Just part of her sort of like survival plan, and like her surviving post the purge.
I think, yeah, we'll maybe touch on this again when we get to our section on the Rebels
Hmm.
show. But with Ahsoka,
Hmm.
I think Cole threw out a while ago that he thinks Ahsoka should have either died during the Purge or not made it past Rebels, like not past A New Hope.
I don't think she should either. I really don't think any Jedi should make it past episode 4.
Interesting. Yeah, right. No, I see where you're coming from. We'll talk about it when we get to Rebels.
Yeah.
Are we already going into
Let's-
Rebels? Is
let's-
this?
Are we gonna?
No, we've got other stuff to
Oh,
cover.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
in terms of making it through the Purge and that kind of thing, I like the idea of being able to explore characters who did survive the Purge outside of the main trilogy of films.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
agree.
want their influence, I don't want their stories to be a part of the main trilogy because I want that to be like Luke was the only hope, or Luke and Leia were the only hope
Yeah. Literally.
for the Jedi to overcome Sidious, and that's what happened. That's the story.
That has to be the case.
That has to be the case. I think maybe exploring the idea of like Baylan Skoll from the Ahsoka TV show, who was a Jedi, he survived the Purge, and he became like this mercenary with an orange lightsaber. I think that's really cool. He would stay away from the main trilogy.
Yep.
He's not a part of that story, and he doesn't need to be. And I think it devalues the story if you bring someone like him into it. But I think keeping it open for like expanded stories to explore like
yeah,
a
like-
potential Jedi character.
But if they
That's
are,
what
then-
they're doing with Ahsoka.
And that's what they're doing with
they've
Ahsoka,
always
and I
done
think
with
I think
Ahsoka.
they're doing a really good job there.
But if they did survive, they have to be just inconsequential to the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. They cannot be someone who Sidious and Vader would go after, and they definitely can't be someone who Luke or who Ben or Yoda would think of as
And I think
some option.
an interesting problem with that is that Ahsoka is saved during season 4 of Rebels. Is that correct? Or season 3?
She dies in season 2. She's saved during season 4.
Yeah.
So season 4 is set before Return of the Jedi, right?
What's set before A New Hope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she would be
No,
free.
season 4.
Season 4 of Rebels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that
All,
set
all of Rebels takes place before
And you hope.
even the
Yeah.
last season?
all of it.
Oh, okay.
All wraps up.
So she would be free for the entire trilogy of films to go and help Luke,
Yeah.
and become a new master for him when Kenobi dies during A New Hope. So she'd be like, "Hey, Luke, I'm also a Jedi. I can train you," which would make sense. It wouldn't make sense for her to do really anything else. And then together they would have saved the galaxy. And that's not the story we have, which means that Ahsoka has to die.
Yeah. She does.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty logical conclusion to come to. I think because they don't even answer where she is in the Ahsoka TV show. They don't answer what the mystery time looks like after she
The-
was saved by Ezra.
Mystery time. Oh,
What she was doing, how she met Hu Yang, etc., etc.
oh,
We-
right.
We
right.
don't even know what gate she gets out of
Yeah, exactly.
in the world between worlds.
Or like what time
Yeah,
she
you
gets
do.
out of.
Yeah, or time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
You-
better way of thinking about it.
You do. She goes back to basically right after she died.
Oh, okay. So she just go back to the destroyed
Yeah,
Sith
so
temple on.
I don't know how to
Not
give you
Mars.
context other than making a Dungeons and Daddies joke, but no, okay. She goes into World Between Worlds right as she's about to die.
Yep.
Ezra pulls her into a portal,
Saves her from Vader.
saves her from Vader. They do some stuff in the World Between Worlds. It's heavily inferred. If you go back and watch season 2, you see Ahsoka walking back into the temple after they've already shown her pretty much die. The context of that is she goes through a portal and then she goes back into the temple, basically right after she would have died,
Okay.
and just hides out from there and lets the time pass up until.
Okay, Sandra, that's dumb.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta let the time pass. You can't play with the timeline like that. You can't play with time travel and
That's
not fuck it
dumb.
up.
We're gonna get to the world between worlds soon.
Wait. So let's time pass as in she just stays at that Sith temple for however long season 3 and
Or
4
just,
of
like,
Rebels is.
Or just like stays underground, like doesn't make contact with anybody.
And just
because she's dead.
Well, from what we
technically.
learn in the Ahsoka show, she links back up with Sabine, starts training her.
Yeah.
No,
some
but
point.
that's
They
afterwards.
do Mandalore. I know. Yeah.
That's
So she just waits until the story of Rebels is finished before coming back into the story
Perfectly
of the galaxy. Yeah, so when they do it in Dungeons and Daddies, the podcast that we love,
it's
it's
stupid.
played as a joke and it's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
It's stupid and it's funny.
So we're not doing that with the thing that's not supposed to be a joke. Is
Yeah.
all I'm saying. God, that's stupid.
but it's like you open the can of worms of introducing time travel,
Yeah,
and if there's any conversation in what we're cutting,
it should be time travel.
it's like, I'm sorry, Mello, I really like World Between Worlds as well, but it can't. It
No.
has to be
Oh,
cut.
no. I completely agree. We'll get to Rebels in a sec.
yeah,
I-
we'll get to Rebels. I've got
um,
some other stuff. I just
just-
wanted to talk about Ahsoka.
I think
Yeah,
Ahsoka should survive the Purge.
Yes.
Yes.
And have a story after that maybe links up with
Well, it's in Clone Wars.
Rebels.
That she
Yeah.
survives, so.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing: we can just say she survives the Purge and just leave it at that.
Yeah, I just
We
want
don't
the-
have to make canon for. We don't have to make a new canon for Ahsoka's death.
True,
We could,
but I
can we
really
just
like
say
her
that she
character.
dies at a certain point, though. We
I
do
think
need to-
she deserves a cool death.
Yeah.
Maybe taking down Maul. No, well, Maul's killed by Kenobi and Rebels, and we like that ending as well.
It's the
That's a
one.
really
We'll
cool
get to that.
ending. Let's
Okay.
let's circle back to Ahsoka. Let's move on
Okay.
to some of the other things I want to touch on really quick. The Old Republic and the High Republic. so, so this is obviously really deep canon. Oh no, sorry, deep extended universe stuff. Things that aren't canon anymore.
And there's some minor canon.
And there's
stuff.
some minor canon with books they've released recently in the High Republic. Is that correct?
Yeah, okay,
There's a
so
Wookiee with a lightsaber.
Just
if I
quickly, the High
recall.
Republic and the entire launch of that era of Star Wars, history my voice is going, is a joke.
Okay.
It's an absolute fucking joke. They have fucked it up
Jeez.
so much.
Mello's hot take time.
No, come on. Like, so it's like it's 400 years before Phantom Menace. This is just my voice now. They it's a whole new era that they're launching into, and they've done it with books and comics. No one cares. No one cares.
Oh, I think like the books and comics fans might
They
care.
do.
Are they
Yeah.
selling well?
I mean, that's
Like-
always how they've done
Maybe I
extended
don't even know.
universe stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but if you actually want to explore a new era, you put because this is how it is the tier of importance and the tier of shit that people give a shit about, movies or shows, and then comics or books, and also surrounding that.
No,
time.
because you make the extended lore stuff, books and comics, because you're only really making it for the people who give a shit
for
enough
the
to
diehards, I suppose.
watch
Yeah,
the
I
fucking
think I'm with
com-
Sandro on that
Yeah.
one.
But,
It's,
no,
it's
but
for
if
the
they-
people who care.
You know, but like I guess they don't actually care.
They don't
about
care
that-
about
that
bringing
era.
it to the screen because they know that the mainstream audience, I don't think, is interested in that period.
And it also, way back when they first started doing extended lore, a good reason for keeping it in books and comics is it meant that Lucas could give his sandbox to creators
Yeah.
and not have
Go
to
nuts! I don't care what you do.
not
yeah.
actually have to be hard tied to any of the stuff that they make, because
he said a couple
people-
times in interviews, it's like it's not canon. You know, it's
Yeah.
my
To
canon
him,
is the movie.
my
yeah.
canon
Yeah,
is what I made.
And I think a
with
lot
these
of
movies,
writers
so-
really like idolize his canon, what he perceives as canon when
yeah,
they're writing.
and
Yeah.
it's really good. Like, people like still try to go hard and stay with the themes, but like, you know, like EU got to like such a fucking wild place.
Yeah.
it did.
Now,
It really
um,
did.
And on that though, so to your point, as to keep, I don't really see the point in keeping.
I just wanted to
it.
touch on it briefly because it is there and it exists. I don't think any of it really bears mentioning or discussing in terms of
No,
like
neither.
what we're talking about. It's there and it exists. I don't think we even need to really cut it or keep it, kind of thing. It's just kind of
But we don't
It's
even.
there
we're
and
going to ignore it.
We don't even know what it is.
Yeah, there's
or
a
what
lot of-
exists.
I know like bits and pieces of KOTOR and Darth Revan and that kind of stuff.
Oh, I mean, well, that's an old Republic.
yeah, Old Republic.
No, I'm talking about High Republic.
I hard agree that it's there, it exists.
We're going to ignore it.
Oh, okay. I'm okay with that approach then as
Yeah.
well for the old Republic.
We were
Bad
talking about
Batch.
something that I thought was interesting. My next batch was like Rogue One, Solo, and Andor, and
Right.
like that
Yeah.
kind of like the Disney movies and the Disney show Andor,
Yeah.
and then even maybe moving into the Mando seasons as well.
My take.
I think we'll start with the movies. Rogue One and Solo. What's your take?
Cool. Movies that give more context to plot, sure. Do we need it?
We don't really need it.
No.
I really like Rogue One. I think it's fantastic.
This is my keep button. Keep.
Keep.
It's just like, if you're keeping it, you might as well keep Solo.
Different things there.
because we don't like it, so we don't
Yeah,
keep it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
think
like,
it's fun, but I think it's too silly. And that if we can pick and choose, this is the whole
yeah,
point
but
of
if you
doing
can
this.
pick and choose, just like,
I like Solo.
Just
I'd
do
be
what-
happy to keep it.
just say, you know, we can just like vaguely have it there. We can pull ideas from it like it existed, but it's not a part of the canon.
Do I wish that Han and Chewie's introduction and meeting was better and like more engaging and more fun and more like key to their characters? Yes. But I'm fine with the story we got. It was fine. It was okay. Him and Lando meeting was perfect. Like that rules.
I think my problem is like, it's easier to just can it all, because then you just have a more concise string of things to pull from.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
rather than getting like caught up in a bunch of specific details, which like admittedly I do a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like we introduced Rogue One into the mix and we're going to talk about Andor, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything we're making.
Yeah.
We could cut Andor. We
Well-
just really like it,
well,
but it can be completely cut.
Well, because it has nothing to do with what we're making, that's why I'm more in
Why?
favor of keeping it.
Because it has nothing to do with what we're making. It doesn't need to exist, Mello. That's what I'm saying.
So you're thinking like in the pursuit of being concise,
Yes.
we just have like the live action movies and that's it.
Yeah, kinda.
And like the trilogy movies, kind
Yeah.
of thing, as opposed to the Rogue One, Solo, and Andor.
Solo has the whole mall thing. That
Yeah,
happened.
it
Like
does.
that
It does.
raises questions.
We got like 7 other things that for that more ran a crime syndicate.
But I also think in terms of creating a product, creating writing that is coherent and cohesive and builds on the things that came before, there is some value in keeping Rogue One and Solo. Because they're live action movies and a lot of people watch them. Like a lot. Like anyone listening to this podcast almost definitely watched all of these movies.
Mm.
Unlikely that maybe they watched all of the TV shows and read all the comics and books. Very likely that everyone has watched all the movies.
I hear you. I feel like that take is going to get very hypocritical once we get to the Disney Plus TV shows.
Oh, because they're so popular as well.
Mhm.
Ah.
You know?
But I think maybe the difference
What-
is
what-
that those are really bad.
Nah.
Yeah. Good content deserves saving.
It's all stuff that like people have seen. Like, why aren't we drawing from it? It's like
I think it's because it's closer to the stuff we want to write. Like we're changing the sequel trilogy, and a lot of that is going to be getting rid of Mando and Ahsoka and all that stuff because
I
it's so
mean-
close to the timeline we are.
Yeah,
but Rogue One and Solo aren't. They're further away.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not quite sold on keeping anything post Return of the Jedi. Maybe that's sort of where I'm coming from
Okay, yeah.
because like it's too close to the area of where we're heading.
Gotcha.
Are we gonna? How are we gonna keep going with this? 'Cause are we gonna like
Okay, yeah. So
answer that era? Or-
So I'm of the opinion, just before we move on, Rogue One and Solo and Andor we keep because they're really good and they're far enough away that it doesn't really introduce problems and we can build on those as opposed to scrapping them. Yeah, well, we can maybe go back and change that later anyways. We never come to firm decisions on this show anyway. My next thing was the Rebels cartoon, circling back to that. Yeah. I'm kind of like moving in like chronological order for the most part.
it makes sense.
For the most part, because we jump all the way back to the Old Republic just for a quick sec.
Um,
Rebels TV show. You guys have seen all of it. I
Yep.
have not. I've seen bits and pieces. I remember most of it.
For the sake of being concise,
yeah.
Can it all?
I want to cut almost the entire.
Almost the entire
why
thing.
can
Rebels.
portions of it
Yeah.
if you're not just going to can the whole
That's a
thing?
very good point.
And that also means, I think, canning Darth Maul's death. One of my favorite scenes in
hey,
Star Wars.
no, that's really interesting.
But
Do you want to keep him alive?
just-
or just want to?
or just do like what we've talked about doing with the Yoda thing, and just being like, that happens, that specific thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one thing I want to keep.
We
is
can
that-
have
is that
headcanons where he
Obi-Wan
dies.
kills Maul on
Interesting.
Tatooine.
We can have the headcanon that like something happens there.
because I would love to also scrap Rebels because I would like to change Maul's death.
Oh, okay.
Personally.
Oh, really?
I still think there's a lot of potential in exploring Maul and his potential new apprentice post Return of the Jedi.
But this isn't as a mean of bringing it into the trilogy, or is this as a means of
doing the Fall of Coruscant TV
Ah,
show,
okay, right,
kind of
right.
like that series, and building more lore out for ourselves and more context there. I
Mm.
think having a red lightsaber is super valuable, and I love Maul, and I think Filoni saw the same thing where he's like, this is a really awesome character that wasn't given potential in the movie he was in, and he wanted to take Maul and flesh him out more and give him his own story and make him arguably one of the coolest villains in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But then, that being said, Kenobi killing him in defense of Luke Skywalker is probably the coolest possible death you can give to
It's
that
great.
character. It's so thematically like cohesive and satisfying that I wouldn't really want to change that either. So it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's a
Mm.
really beautiful scene. With everything else, if you're going to cut some major parts of what makes Rebels, then just, kind of cut the whole thing.
Yeah.
We can have it in the back of our head.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, everything that we're talking about cutting doesn't mean we don't like it. It's just in the
Yeah.
source of, like, we need specific things to look at so that we can pull off and infer off to use as information going forward.
And I think bringing in the idea of like, what have people seen? What is popular? I don't know if Rebels is that popular. I think it kind of bombed when it first
when
came
people
out.
amongst people who have
first
seen it, it's
season-
popular. I
Oh,
think.
yeah, no,
Oh,
people
yeah.
love it who
Yeah.
have watched it.
Yeah.
but it's kind of huge. I'd
Yeah.
say it's
Is
like-
it?
I'd say it's on par of with Book of Boba Fett at least.
It's grown. It's definitely grown now.
Okay.
But it also kind of like
It's grown with
a,
time.
a lot
yeah.
of people don't like it or didn't like it at the time because it existed to piss people off. because they cancelled Clone Wars and they replaced it with that.
Yeah, I
know,
think
like,
yeah.
They cancelled
people-
Clone Wars. Disney got Star Wars, cancelled Clone Wars, and then were
Yeah.
like,
Done
here's
this-
our new
Here's our new
animated
show we're
thing.
making. Yeah.
and it was like super like kids orientated, but
Yeah.
didn't feel like it had.
And the animation
meaning
quality,
behind it.
let's be real, it's that Disney
Season 1
smooth
Yeah.
shit.
Season 1, I don't remember being super well received. I think with time it's gotten better received. But even still,
Yeah.
season 1 is pretty
It's
not
pretty
great.
not great.
Season
yeah.
3 and 4.
Yeah, people
Common,
really like
common.
season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Backtrack quickly to Bad Batch.
Okay.
'Cause
Oh,
it-
yeah.
it
So you
does
want
exist.
to touch on Bad Batch for a sec because I actually forgot that it existed.
No, fair enough. I've only seen season 1. Have you seen all of season 2?
I have seen all of season 2. I think it's at the moment far enough away to like in that same category of like Solo,
Mhm.
where it's like it's so far away that it doesn't have too much of a implication on anything we're doing.
all those cloning implications,
My-
though.
my
cloning.
my thoughts might change after season 3. Like I'm not sure where they're going with cloning stuff. There's some cloning stuff at the end of season 2 where one of our main characters, Omega, she's like a clone that's like the base genome that they're making clones of. Kind of like Boba Fett just being like an exact replicant. They're going in some weird territory, but they're not being super explicit.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that it's maybe like more of Disney trying to push this like and
Let's
making
explore cloning and like Sith alchemy and shit.
making Snoke feel a bit more like a natural thing to happen.
Were they not implying that she has the Force? They're starting to get there.
Not really.
No.
Not too much. No. I wouldn't say that. No. But I feel like it's definitely an area that they could go, and then in that case we can just,
Then it gets cut.
Yeah.
So I think, the thing is, again, if it has no consequence, I think we're safe to just ignore it and not really include it in, our writing.
Okay, so are we there yet?
Where?
Beyond Return of the Jedi?
No.
No?
There's so much
What the
stuff.
fuck is? Oh, Kenobi.
There's
let's-
so much shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't really come to a conclusion on Rebels.
So I think Rebels, I would love to cut and spend a bit of time exploring what happens to Darth Maul.
Yeah.
I think in particular,
Okay.
he's the character from that show that I'm most interested in, and I think has the most potential to live on past Return of the Jedi.
He's the key to all of this.
Once again,
No.
I really love Rebels. I really love the characters in Rebels. I feel like most of Rebels would be inconsequential to the writing, but it just takes maybe it's just plays a bit too close in
It would have
to
been.
the end of the trilogy.
Yeah.
It would have been fine if it didn't end like it did. If it didn't end with two of the main characters going off somewhere and then saying at the end our heroes are going to have to go find them at some point.
Yeah, leave
With,
on like a weird cliffhanger.
Doing future stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's, if it
Yeah.
had just wrapped itself up. Also, I
And
don't like
also then-
Inquisitors.
Yeah,
So that's one
Mello's
of the things
always
I'm
been
really-
keen on cutting Inquisitors entirely.
I think
'cause- yeah.
Inquisitors as an idea makes sense. And I think it's pretty cool.
So
I think flying lightsabers is the stupidest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
yes, but also Inquisitors like break the rule of two. They're dark side Force users.
Yeah, but they're not Sith.
I don't care.
But it's the same. It's like the same analogy they always made with Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, but
True.
Pal-
When Dooku had his own.
I'd like to think that beyond the Clone Wars era, because Palpatine needed them. They were at a war. They were
Yeah.
they needed more tools. He hated all of them.
Yes.
Anyone that wasn't his apprentice, he hated it all.
I think even then he hated Darth Vader in a way. They're so
Yeah, he
full of
definitely
hate
hated
and
Vader,
evil.
Yeah.
But I think Asajj Ventress actually makes more sense because it's Dooku like, I'm going to make my own apprentice so that we can overthrow Palpatine together and then you can be my apprentice and I can be the master.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense to me. That still fits into the rule of two. Having 9 Inquisitors
Or
at any
however
given
many,
time,
yeah.
or however many, running around and doing errands across the galaxy, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Being
It just-
shit at their job.
They're
too.
not
being
really like
shit at their jobs.
strong Sith. Like they don't really know like anything about Sith technique or anything. Sidious would like pass knowledge down to Vader. Vader would not pass that knowledge down to Inquisitors.
Yeah. Okay, here's my question as well. I think Andor is a perfect show. I
think it's a great
perfect TV show. Perfect season of TV. As close to perfect as you can get. In my personal opinion. They don't use Inquisitors in that show, and they still make the Empire fucking terrifying.
No,
More
no,
terrifying,
I
I
agree.
would say, than the Rebels TV. It's a kids show, but the Rebels TV show makes Inquisitors silly as hell.
Yeah, right.
I think the Jedi games, which I'm about to bring up as well. This is another
Yeah,
thing.
I
on the
figured
list.
we'd
Yeah.
get into games.
Just
kinda, yeah.
quickly. But I think the games do a pretty good job of making them scary boss fights to fight against. But
yeah,
I think we
you just
don't
got to
really...
think about the medium, you know.
I
like,
guess, yeah,
who
it
it's
does
trying to
fit the
meet.
medium as well. But I think, Andor shows a really, it's a really good version of the galaxy where it's just bureaucracy used to oppress people in like the most terrifying ways. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think you don't need Inquisitors to tell that story.
No, I agree. But I also think the Andor story is something very specific to like a really great sci-fi espionage thriller kind of show and doesn't quite meet the criterion of what I'd expect from something that is Star Wars.
That's fair, but I would argue.
I think it's a really great show.
Okay, here's my argument. I feel like Darth Vader would fit in Andor in a really, really interesting way.
We might see him in
I think-
season 2. Who knows?
I think if he's brought in season 2, I think it would be probably fucking incredible.
his presence can make sense.
Yeah.
It'd be weird, but
And I think if you were to take any kind of medium we have that has Inquisitors in it and instead replace it with Darth Vader, you could probably get away with doing that because he fits the same role in an imposing force that wears black that has a red lightsaber, and is terrifying and is going to kill you.
well, the Inquisitors are there just to like hunt down remaining Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's within the context of there are Jedi that have escaped the Purge, and there's enough that they need more people because Vader was just doing it by himself.
I think it's fine to scrap Rebels and just say Darth Vader was doing it by himself.
Okay.
I don't think there's a problem with that.
First as well. You know, he takes them with him.
He's got a whole legion of like, really specially trained stormtroopers and shit, and then it's him for the big tasks.
I do not mind that.
That's where I'm at. That's my take.
Good stuff.
Fucking Inquisitors can go bye-bye.
Yeah.
I don't think you need them for the story.
Now let's talk
So,
about those
well,
games.
Yeah, I'd love
We'll
to.
flash off Rebels then.
What's that?
We'll flash off Rebels then. I guess.
Yeah, that's my vote. Get rid of Rebels.
It just
and
pays.
we'll
a
figure
bit
out something
too
to-
much of an impact on
The rest of the
anything closer to
canon.
home.
Yeah,
okay.
and I think we can figure out something to do with Maul later on. We'll figure out something and we'll tell you, audience. But for now, we're going to move on to the Jedi games. So Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order. Sandro and I have played through both. They're very good.
They're
We're
very good.
Big fans.
They're very fun.
Mello, we want you to play them.
Yeah.
But you don't play a lot of video games.
No.
So we might spoil. We'll try and be spoiler light
look,
for these.
guys, I don't really mind too much.
I love them. I think they're great. They might also fall in the category of being too close to home.
The whole premise is that a Jedi survives the Purge and is living pretty much within the same time period of like A New Hope, Empire
Yeah.
Strikes Back. I'm not exactly sure where the time is for him, but it's around A
yeah.
New Hope, Empire Strikes Back.
I think Survive is a bit closer to the movies.
Yeah.
Fallen Order, I'm not actually.
Fallen Order, I think, is a fair bit
I think
before A
they
New
do-
Hope, and then Jedi Survivor is like right before A New Hope, if
Yeah.
I recall, because the Death Star hasn't been destroyed yet.
I
There's
think
no
they
battle
give
yet.
a year at the start of Survivor, maybe. I could be wrong.
But anyways, they're really cool, but they're pretty wacky. You fight a lot of Inquisitors. You kill some Inquisitors.
You also meet up with Vader.
And you encounter Vader. Vader's in the games, and it fucking rules.
It
It's
rules.
So awesome.
They're great games within this current Star Wars canon. Completely fine within what we're making. Maybe a bit too close to home.
Yeah, I think, safe to cut. But also, big recommendation. Go play those games. They're awesome.
Go ahead, play those games. They're fucking fantastic.
Mellow.
Oh, are we doing this in eras or games? Because Battlefront 2 also has like a story.
There's that one scene, like there's that one level that you play as with Luke that people really like, but it's also like people just grasping for anything that's fucking good from
Yeah.
Star Wars video games,
Yeah.
especially Battlefront.
Yeah. No, but I think the entirety of like Battlefront's story.
And
has to
also
be
Operation Cinder.
They do, yes.
They touch on Operation Cinder,
Jakku, Kylo Ren's in
the
it.
character Iden Versio as
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
All of that's got to be cut. There is some really good stuff in there, some great potential, but it also wasn't explored. so
Once
well
again,
in the game.
ideas we can just pull from.
Yeah, take inspiration from, but cut from the canon.
Whew.
My next thing is inspiration books because we are finally getting past Return of the Jedi. Kenobi, Mandalorian,
Book of
Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
The 4 shows that they've made for Star Wars Disney Plus stuff.
I'll do something quick. We've cut Rebels. Might as well cut Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think we have to cut Ahsoka.
Yeah.
It's way
Yes.
too close to
Way too
the
close.
sequel
It's also
trilogy.
pulling up a bunch of other stuff that's going to be like
Yeah.
outer worldly. The whole Mandoverse.
The whole
almost
Mandoverse, I
should-
think, has to be cut.
has to be
I
cut.
want to cut every single show you've just mentioned.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
of
I
it.
think we have to just because a lot of the reason that, Mando season 3 exists, I think we've heard enough interviews from Jon Favreau where people reading between the lines, it seems like he didn't want to make it. It seems like the scenes in Boba Fett where we had, Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka there were kind of things that Disney kind of shoehorned into the universe to make it this expansive thing when season 2 should have been the end of that story.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful end to that story.
That's a great end.
Even though it does leave the question of where the fuck did Baby Yoda just go with Luke Skywalker?
Season 3 could have been a whole new story, though.
It could have, who knows? Who knows? I don't know what you could have done, but we would have preferred something else over. We
I
don't
didn't-
like Mando season 3. I
didn't
think
hate
none
it.
of- You
I
don't
didn't
hate
hate
it. I kind of hate it. There's some episodes that are really good,
Yeah.
but the overall story that they created with the show, I feel like, is very disappointing.
What overall story?
Yeah.
It's also, once again, like it touches on a lot of High Republic stuff, which we're changing anyway.
Wait, High Republic or New Republic?
Sorry, New Republic.
New Republic
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Kenobi, too many silly implications.
I think
You know,
Kenobi just sucks
it's a
hard enough that we can cut it.
Garbage show.
There is an argument to be made for the fight between Kenobi and Vader. I think it's really cool, and I think they made it fit the canon based on the dialogue in A New Hope.
If
And there's
it's-
nice moments with Leia as well.
And also Young Leia rules. I really like Young Leia.
I still don't think the fight. I still don't think they need to have fought again. Vader and Obi-Wan. That's They spend so much time trying to justify that
Yeah.
one cool thing. Also, so I know a lot of people like Kenobi. Please, for the love of God,
Really?
tell me why.
Really, people? I thought everyone hated it.
I think maybe now they hate it. People did at the time. If you like Kenobi, give me an actual reason.
I would love to hear that too.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I've never seen a positive take on Kenobi ever. I don't think I've seen a
Oh,
single.
I think a lot
people-
of prequel fans did.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think a lot of people are like ignoring certain parts that are just like make no sense. To me, it's just
like
like
the Fortress Inquisitorius part.
Yeah,
God,
to me-
damn,
like
that was
Hoth,
shit.
Hoth snow speeders flying, actually flying
Oh, yeah,
through
weird.
space.
Yeah.
there's too much focusing on too many different areas and not enough on like Kenobi that it becomes kind of a jumbled mess, and we don't get to actually have like this show that seemingly by the title is meant to be a character study.
Yeah.
but it's not.
I think honestly, the choice to have Leia in the story was genius.
Yeah.
I think the choice
really
to have
like it.
to have Flea ruined the show. I think that was the
No, California, baby.
So Flea, I don't know if everyone knows this. He's the bass player from
Bass player.
from Red
Red
Hot
Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I don't know why the fuck he's in it.
Because California.
He's in everything.
Yeah.
He cameos in it.
He cameos in
Anyway, he's
all
not
of
actually
it.
the problem. The problem is they had 6 episodes. I think with 8 or 10, maybe they could have had a really good, strong show. Or if they had made it a movie instead. I think having you start with Kenobi, he's living as a vagabond in the desert, watching over Luke. You have Leia come in. I need your help, Obi-Wan, and they go on a little adventure together.
We watched the fan edit, and
Yeah.
it ended up being quite.
It was
quite
better.
good. It was better.
There's a new fan edit that someone's made.
I know. I saw that. I really want to watch
I would
that
also
as
really
well.
wanna watch it,
What's that one?
Just someone spent.
Oh wait, is that the one who's done full VFX?
yeah,
made-
like he's done a
right.
lot more work on
Is-
it.
Even though like the guy that we watched, give credit where credit is due, he still did a lot.
He did a
of
great
really
job
good
in a
work.
really short amount of time. It was
Yeah.
like a month or 2 after the actual show
It
release.
was
It was
very
very
close.
quick. Anyways,
And he'd already like done some like of his own like full like shots that are just completely VFX.
yeah. So I think we can say the fan edits of Kenobi, those are canon. The actual shows on Disney Plus, cut. Nah, we cut it off. Cut it off. So
right.
those are the shows.
Yep.
Mandoverse shows, cut and gone. Kenobi, cut and gone.
Easy done.
My next thing is is inspiration books like Heir to the Empire, Aftermath, and Bloodline. So, and when I say inspiration, I mean those are books that we've talked a lot about on this show.
Yep.
And whether to keep them canon or not. Obviously we're going to cut them.
Yeah, I was gonna say nothing beyond Return of the Jedi can stay.
Yeah, because
But those are the books we are taking
Yeah.
most inspiration from. Heir to the Empire, just in the sense of like we want to touch on Thrawn in our Coruscant TV show, our
Yeah.
Fall of Coruscant or Final Days of the Empire TV show, which we will not be making,
No.
but we will be writing and we will release some of that stuff eventually in the future.
years.
Here's a plug,
years.
but I'm also plugging the episode that we just did recently called Fall of Coruscant or Fixing the Battle of Jakku is the name of the show.
Yeah.
Is the name of that episode.
Wait, are we cutting episode 7, 8, 9?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
No. We're keeping 7, 8, and 9.
No,
yeah,
we're just keeping 8.
No, I was meant to say this. No, we're keeping the whole original sequels.
Okay.
We're keeping those. We're keeping the sequels.
Right.
Yeah, we're
'cause
just
we're gonna bring
rewriting
back the
them.
World Between Worlds and do an alternate
Our,
universe.
our sequels just like are in tandem. So Luke and Han and Leia had 2 kids named Ben, and there's a second Rey and Jakku.
They look over and then way in the distance they see the Hosnian Prime system getting blown up. I'm like, damn, I wonder what's going on over there. Anyway, back to our story.
Yeah.
Babu Frig, what are you doing?
it's the clone trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's been cloned and we're following the
It actually
clones.
makes more sense. Like Sidious clone makes more sense than that.
Man, we should have written those EU books. We were wasted being born when we were born. We should have been born 30 years earlier.
in the
Just
US.
dumb ideas.
Yeah.
So those are the books that I think we've talked the most about on this show. We're going to
Yeah.
cut all of the events, but take inspiration from them. I also wanted to talk about the Resistance TV show.
Oh, wow.
Fuck you.
I
So
forgot it
a
existed.
while back, we had the pleasure of watching the first 2 or just the first episode.
I
of the
don't know if
Resistance.
we even got through the first episode.
I think
man.
we got through the first episode.
I think I blocked out most of it from my,
It
from
was
my mind.
painful.
It was truly painful.
It was.
What a horrible experience.
I've seen the entire first season.
No.
Yeah.
You watched the whole
Yeah.
first season?
Yes.
Obviously ties into the sequels. Cut it. Poe Dameron's there. We don't even have that fucking guy.
I
Yeah.
think, we've
Yeah.
talked about cutting Poe Dameron recently, so
Yeah.
we're going to cut the whole Resistance show to the delight of everyone in the community.
I heard a million voices scream out in joy throughout the galaxy.
Let's canonize every episode of Visions.
Oh, no, we can't do that.
No,
but
we can't do that.
But Visions rules, and if you haven't seen Visions, go watch it. It's fucking
I
awesome.
love that this just turned into here's all the Star Wars content. Let's just give a quick opinion on
Yeah.
everything.
I didn't think that's would be what it is, but it is what it is. And
It
now
is
that's
what
the
it
show.
is.
I'm trying to like stay into like what is canon.
What is canon, what is not.
You guys are here like I hate this, but I love it.
Look, we're not making a podcast because we're not opinionated. you know?
this is valid. This is a true.
Anyway,
Wait a minute, we're
anyway.
opinionated?
that's all the things I had on my list. If you guys want to jump in with any other stuff, any other Star Wars franchise stuff.
I'm guessing we're cutting comics, but there's like
Is there a comic we can keep? I don't know.
There's
Because
like,
I haven't read any.
every now and then, like I'll bring up like stuff in the Vader comics that we can just like pluck from, but I've only ever brought them up in the sense of plucking from them, not staying super hard and true from them. We've talked about like the idea of Exegol maybe coming up later, but like in a completely different way.
God, I want to use Exegol so bad.
But we'll talk about
So
that.
cool.
That's a story for another episode.
I'm pretty sure we've already talked
Yeah,
about it on
probably.
another episode.
Yeah, go back and watch whatever episode that
I
is.
mean, so the long running since the new like Disney canon era since 2014, main running like Star Wars comics is from immediately after Episode 4.
Yeah.
They've filled in the entire gap of what our heroes do from Episode 4 to Episode 5, and currently they're in between Episode 5 and Episode 6.
Well, there you go.
Anything that
In the Disney canon.
in the Disney canon, in
There
the
you go.
comics,
Yeah.
anything that isn't a fuck around and doesn't like mess with with like big future implications, anything that's not trying to like in the Vader stuff backtrack and answer
yeah.
the reasons why Exegol, none of that. So anything that's just our heroes doing hero stuff, sure, why not?
Yeah, what do they do? Do they get up to anything fun in those comics?
There's cool
There are
hijinks.
plenty of
There's,
things, but
there's a
it's
whole
like-
thing of like trying to get Han back whilst he's in Carbonite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they go to Jeddah. They go to the mostly destroyed planet of Jeddah, but then also they tie in with the Han
Mostly
Carbonite stuff.
destroyed? Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
actually sick as
the
hell.
surface.
It's pretty
That's
wild.
really cool.
They're mining stuff
Yeah, right.
still.
Like kyber crystals?
Yeah.
Because like Jeddah had kyber crystals on
Yeah.
it. That's rad.
They've already
Um,
blown through half the planet, so it's
yeah.
just Kyber
Yeah.
floating
Yeah.
in space.
Let's
and-
steal
and-
that. Let's go to Jeddah.
I mean, Kira from Solo comes back up. They
Yeah,
answer
so you've
questions
mentioned
around-
that there's like a
her.
whole thing of like Han gets passed around like a baton between a bunch of bounty hunters
Literally.
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
way to Jabba's palace.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't like most of that because it makes Boba seem really bad at his job. But it's once he gets him, it's like simple.
And then
just jump to
Han
Han's-
becomes like hot potato.
literally.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
It's a bit.
But like they tie the whole Kira thing back into it. I
They
think
do.
it's nice.
That's cool. Does
She
she
becomes
die?
an ally, despite the fact that she is like you
A
know
super
crime
criminal.
syndicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Han.
Do they touch on?
They don't kill her off yet.
Okay. Do they touch on like Maul's legacy within the crime syndicate at all? Because he was her boss in Solo.
No.
They don't mention that. Okay.
Leaders
think
get
so.
tossed around. Like I feel like even we've joked about this in our like doing this in our sequel, and I think it's very true even just in Star Wars canon. Like if somebody gets like overthrown, then you know it's just up gone to the
Yeah,
next.
don't talk about
person,
the other
you
guy.
know?
They find Hoth.
Yeah.
And they make Hoth a base for Empire Strikes Back. Luke does some lightsaber stuff. He has some run-ins with Vader. There is an awesome comic. I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one you'll see all those frames from where it's like Vader's surrounded by rebels. He's like,
Yeah.
we've got you surrounded. It's like, all I'm surrounded by is fear and dead man.
That's
that
a
comic
fucking hard
is
line.
fantastic.
It's a hard line.
Hell yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all about this one general who just like wants to put Vader in the most awful situations to see if he'll die.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
Palpatine
awesome.
like kind of like soft demotes him.
Huh.
And then like makes him have to follow the orders of this one general.
Yeah, it's after the Death Star incident on episode 4.
Yeah.
After.
That's really cool.
And this
I
general
actually
just
love
keeps
that.
putting him in like suicide missions.
That's really awesome. I actually kind of love that.
But also, like, so yeah, all that stuff that happens in Vader, because you actually kind of have to cut that because this guy is like he's like that guy from Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
okay, which
who,
one?
who the villain,
Yeah.
who like makes.
Oh, he like makes like people and
twisted-
animals
yeah,
and shit.
Same deal. He does that, but he then trains them all as like Jedi. And
Oh,
stuff,
that's
and
fuck.
makes them fight Vader.
I think just for comics alone, it's easier to say we cut and just draw inspiration and then like keep details if we want to keep details.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cherry pick.
But yeah, it seems like those tie-in comics between 4 and 5 of like the main heroes and stuff. That seems like it's pretty safe.
That's mostly okay.
Like the
Yeah,
idea
cool.
of like Exegol having a huge dark side kyber crystal in them. Cherry pick.
Yeah, cherry pick that idea.
Cherry pick
take
that
take it
idea.
for something else.
The giant kaiju fight outside Exegol.
Canon. Keep it. I love that fucking dumbass kaiju fight. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time at the end of the show.
Yeah.
My thing that I would love to circle back to, we've talked about a bunch today, is Maul.
Yeah.
So talking about Kira just now and like the crime syndicates and stuff. If we can take Maul and his building of this like crime syndicate in the Clone Wars era and tie that all the way to the story we want to pursue in the sequels and before the sequels of this crime faction world really building and having a lot of strength and power. I think using Maul as like a beacon of that strength, using him as like the reason this exists is because of the foundation Maul built over the course of 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool story. And I think it gives a lot of importance to who Maul is and what he stands for. I
And that's
guess.
your reason to not kill him off.
Yeah, I think it could be a wise move to not kill him off and then have him go fucking crazy and then try and hunt down Kenobi and then Kenobi kills him.
Right.
I think that could be a really cool story
That's
to like
tremendous,
kind of
yeah.
to write in.
Yeah, and then it's just about like if we are keeping Kira, is Kira the thing that has carried on this criminal empire?
I'm not sure if she's a reoccurring
So,
character.
I would love for Kira to leave the crime syndicates, to
Yeah.
get out and become a hero of some
She
kind.
was a good person. We can do.
Yeah, exactly. And like you get some kind of redemption. I think the tricky part of that is her story is so closely tied to Han's story.
Mm.
And like Han obviously finds Leia, falls in love with Leia, they get married and have kids. And I think Kira maybe comes into the picture at some point, and you have like a Spider-Man Black Cat situation
Yeah.
with like Mary Jane Watson, where it's like like that really fun like love triangle situation where it's like, oh, the old ex comes back into the picture. I think that's a fun story.
Yeah.
And then Kira kind of finds some kind of peaceful resolution at some point and
Yeah.
like settles down. Or I don't know what kind of resolution could you have for a character that used to
Die.
run a crime
Die.
syndicate? Die?
You die.
I don't think she needs to die.
There's
ran a
also
crime
question of
syndicate.
like if that crime syndicate then dismantles and then we see like maybe the forging of a new crime syndicate later in our sequels, because I'm not sure if that crime syndicate itself quite has a place. It seems like too united of a force going into
The sequels?
the sequels.
No, I love that. That's why I think it works. Is because it needs to be a formidable thing for the New Republic to be worried about
Too
it.
united during the Imperial time.
Hey, that's fair. No, that's a fair
Yeah.
point.
Um,
It
Yeah.
has to
because
be
the
like,
last
in
time
the
we
absence
see
of their power.
Last time we see it is in the Solo movie, and that's
Maybe Kira's got the potential to be a major character in that era, like that show and those era, that era post Return of the Jedi that we're talking
Oh
about.
yeah, so she could be a main character in the Full Croissant. That'd be really cool.
Mm.
I think what I was pitching for is to have Darth Talon be Darth Maul's apprentice
Yeah.
and kind of carry that forward as well.
Yes.
I think that's cool. The more I think about it, the more it works for me. Especially if we're scrapping Rebels
yeah,
and have Darth Talon kind of like carry that on as well, and have just like this kind of Sith presence related to the crime syndicates, and to kind of give them that sense of like that gravitas and power,
Mm.
you know, and like being formidable. Yeah, those are my pitches for some Full Coruscant stuff. If we're decanonizing some stuff, some of those are like falling into place a bit more for me.
What else we got to to do at this point?
I think that's about
Have we?
all content.
We've covered all of the Star Wars content in one
Wow.
episode. Look at us go.
So
Wait
safe
a
to say
minute.
we keep the 6 movies. We keep most of Clone Wars.
Yep.
We keeping
Rogue One, Solo, and Andor.
because they're so far behind that it doesn't matter.
They don't really have an
And then-
impact on the sequels.
Everything else gets cut, and we're allowed to cherry pick from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be about it.
That's quite tight.
Keeps it nice and simple,
Yep.
easy. And then we could probably make up that list and be like, here's what's canon, here's what's not. You know?
Now go read it.
Everything else is cut. Yeah. I think that's
Wow.
exciting though. And I think, we might have to come back and touch on this briefly after the end of Ahsoka, episode 8, which comes out on Wednesday. Stay
I'm
tuned
so
for that one.
excited.
If you've been watching along to our reviews and recaps of each episode, we're going to be doing another one of those this Wednesday. So it'll be fun. Very exciting to see where it all wraps up. We're very excited to see if it does wrap up well.
Yeah.
Because they've got a lot of threads they need to tie together in one episode.
2-hour episode, maybe?
Oh my God. I would lose my shit. That'd be amazing. It's not going to happen.
It's not
No.
going to happen.
But God, it'd be good.
It would be good.
Guys, this was really great. Should we be like accountants or something?
Yeah, we're not smart enough to do anything other than talk about Star Wars.
Unless we're coming for you next, Marvel.
Oh, wow.
Just kidding. Never once.
We've got a Marvel show we'll do one day, maybe. But that's for another day and another time. Because for now, this has been Fixing the Sequel Trilogy. You can find us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, all the good places, which is not Twitter/X. Give us a follow. Check out our Patreon. And until next time, may the Force be with you.